Good morning, students. Myself, I am Dr. S.P. Evale, HOD, SDSM Junior College, Department of Chemistry, Palghar. Students, we want to continue the topics of elements of group 16, 17, and 18. You know, till this point, we have finished the chemical properties. Just will revise that one. Which chemical properties we finished last time? These properties are like oxidation states, reactivity toward the hydrogen, reactivity towards oxygen, reactivity towards halogens, and reactivity towards metals. In that, we learn the topic of sodium magnesium also. Now, students, today we're going to start from same topic, same chapter, allotropy. Allotropy is the concept regarding the mixture of two or more than two metals. In that example, in diagram you see diamond, carbon 60, fluorines, carbon 540, fluorite, carbon 70, amorphous carbon, and single wall carbon nanotubes. Before studying of this topic, we have to know what is allotropy. Allotropy is that in which an element exists in different crystalline forms with different physical properties like color, density, melting point is called as allotropy. As per this concept, we'll proceed for their examples. In diagram also you can see diamond, graphite, dioxygen and ozone. These are the allotropes, examples of allotropy. Related topics of this one is polymorphism. What is the polymorphism? A single substance exists in two or more forms or crystalline structures is known as polymorphism. Example of polymorphism is potassium nitrate, that is rhombohedral and orthorhombic. These are the best example of polymorphism. Here, regarding these three groups, group 16, group 17, and group 18. So we'll comparatively study this topic further. That is, elements of the groups in group 16 exist allotropy. Regarding oxygen, that allotropy will observe between O2 means dioxygen and O3 means ozone. These both are non-metallic in nature. Later on, next element is sulfur from group 16. In that first example is rhombic sulfur, you may say alpha sulfur, and monoclinic sulfur, that is beta sulfur. So these both sulfurs are non-metallic in nature. Now group 17, in that we'll see elements of the group 17, they do not exhibit allotropy. Reason, they have not ability to form such type of stable compounds or stable substances. Group 18, in that also these elements of the group 18, they does not exhibit allotropy. Only group 16 exhibit allotropy. Now in group 16, some further example we'll see like selenium. Selenium has crystalline forms. It is gray metallic in nature. As well as in amorphous forms, it shows red color which is non-metallic. Then next element from group 16 is tellurium. In tellurium, it shows crystalline form of the tellurium, that is metallic, and amorphous forms of tellurium, that is non-metallic. Then polonium. Polonium, in that alpha polonium and beta polonium, these both are the metallic in nature, which are allotropes of group 16. In allotropes of sulfur, rhombic sulfur means alpha sulfur structure you can see. These 8 sulfur atoms, which are originally you observe in the W form, you may say crown shape. This one, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, and this one 8. So these 8 sulfurs are joined together, and that's why we can get such type of acid. So this structure looks like what? Crown. You may say crown sulfur or rhombic sulfur or alpha sulfur. Then allotropes of sulfur in that monoclinic sulfur means beta sulfur structure you can see. In that here 8 sulfur atoms which can be joined in this way. Here this sulfur first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven and 8, and the structure can be looks like this. Now here this alpha sulfur, beta sulfur structural forms also we saw. Later on this sulfur we can proceed. We'll see there some other properties also. Rhombic sulfur and monoclinic sulfur means alpha and beta sulfur that we can distinguish with their properties. First property we'll see color. Rhombic sulfur is pale yellow while monoclinic is bright yellow solid. Shape. Orthorhombic crystals of the rhombic sulfur while beta has needle shape monoclinic crystals. Melting point of alpha is 385.8 Kelvin and melting point of beta is 393 Kelvin. Density of alpha sulfur is 2.069 per cm cube and density of beta sulfur is 1.989 per cm cube. Then regarding the solubility, alpha sulfur is insoluble in water but it is soluble in carbon disulfide which is best organic solvent. Then beta sulfur is soluble in carbon disulfide only. Stability. Stable alpha sulfur is stable below 369 Kelvin and it can be transformed to the beta sulfur above this temperature. Means what? When the temperature of alpha sulfur increases beyond 369 or above 369, that time it can be transferred or convert into the beta sulfur at this high temperature above 369 Kelvin. While beta sulfur is stable above 369 Kelvin also, and that can be transformed into alpha sulfur below of this temperature. So this reverse property can be see about the alpha and beta. Structure. Structure of the alpha sulfur is acid molecules having pack or puckered ring structure, while beta sulfur in that acid molecules with puckered ring structures. Later on methods of preparation. Alpha sulfur can be prepared by evaporation of the roll of sulfur in carbon disulfide, while beta sulfur means rhombic sulfur melted in a dish and alpha sulfur is melted in a dish and cool till crust is formed and two holes are made in the upper layer of the crust and remaining liquid is poured out into the given it gives needle shaped crystals of the beta sulfur. So in this way we can compare this alpha and beta sulfur by their properties like color, shape, melting point, density, solubility, stability, structure and methods of the preparation. Now from these groups we will see oxo acids. Actually oxo acid means what? These are the compounds which can be formed by combination with the oxygen and that particular element of the particular group. It has ability to form the oxo acids. A compound that contain hydrogen, oxygen and at least one other element rather than this one with at least one hydrogen atom bonded to the oxygen that can be dissociate to produce H plus ion or cation and the anion of the acid. Comparatively group 16-17 we can study. Group 16 shows oxoacids of sulfur while group 17 shows many oxoacids like oxoacids of the fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. So in group 17 halogen has the ability that type of oxoacids can be formed in that much more but in case of group 16 we'll see regarding only the sulfur. Then what are the different oxoacids of the sulfur that we can see by this table. This table included 5 columns. First column is the name of oxoacid of sulfur, its related formula, then oxygen state of sulfur in that compound, later on types of the bond which are available in that compound and related structure of that oxoacid. So first oxoacid will start that is of sulfurous acid. It has the formula H2SO3. Then oxidation state of sulfur in that is +4 and types of the bonds are 2 for sulfur and between OH and 1 for sulfur and double bonded oxygen. And the structure that you can see like this. At central, sulfur atom is there. Around that double bonded oxygen. Later on, around that OH group, and top side here we'll see the lone pair of electrons. So this lone pair of electrons that we can see at the top side of the structure. Then sulfuric acid, H2SO4. It has, in that sulfur has the plus oxygen state. In that two bonds are between sulfur and OH, and two bonds are between sulfur and double bonded oxygen. So this between sulfur and OH, this first bond, this second bond. So these two bonds. Later on between sulfur and double bonded, there are two bonds. This one, this is the first bond and this is the second bond. So in this way, two bonds of the sulfur and double bonded oxygen. Then next information regarding the di or pyrosulfuric acid, oleum, formula H2S2O7. Then oxidation state of sulfur is +6. Then type of the bonds are 2 sulfur OH, then 4 sulfur double bond oxygen, and 1 sulfur single bond oxygen sulfur. In this way, we can study the structure about this di or pyrosulfuric acid means oleum. Later on, next structure we'll see regarding the compounds of the peroxymonosulfuric acid, that is Carros acid H2SO5. In that sulfur has the plus oxygen state, so one bond between sulfur and OH, two bonds between sulfur and double bond oxygen, one bond between sulfur oxygen, and one is with peroxy group. So here between one bond between sulfur and OH, this one bond sulfur and OH, two bond between sulfur and double bond oxygen, this top side one and downside one. Later on, one bond between sulfur and single oxygen, so this is one bond between sulfur and oxygen, and one bond with the peroxy group. So this OOH is the peroxy group which can be bonded with the sulfur. So in this way we can count and that we can tally also. Then peroxy disulfuric acid means Marshall's acid H2S2O8. In that sulfur has the plus oxygen state. The types of the bonds are 2 sulfur OH, 4 bonds between sulfur double bond oxygen, and one is the peroxy group. And the structure you can see like this. Then trisulfuric acid H2S2O3. In that the oxygen states of sulfur are -2 and +6 respectively. Two bonds are between sulfur OH, one bond between sulfur double bond oxygen, and one bond between sulfur double bond sulfur. So in this way you can see this structure also. Then oxoacids of the halogens. In oxoacids of halogens, we'll see oxoacids of halogen. Then next column is hypohalous acid means HXO, halous acid means HXO2, halic acid means HXO3, and perhalic acid means HXO4. So these are the types of the oxoacids of the halogen. One by one we'll see about the fluorine. Hypohalous acid is HOF. Rest of the acids cannot be formed. Chlorine, HXO means hypohalous acid is HOCl, halous acid is HOClO, and halic acid is HOClO2, as well as perhalic acid is HOClO3. Bromine, in that hypohalous acid is HOBr, and halic acid is HOBrO2, and perhalic acid is HOBrO3. Iodine, HOI, is the hypohalous acid. Halous acid cannot be formed. Halic acid is HOiO2, and perhalic acid is HOiO3. Oxidation states in that for this is +1, then +3 for halous acid, then +5 for halic acid, and +7 for the perhalic acid. So in this way we can study their oxygen states also. Then structures of these oxoacids of the chlorine. One by one we'll see hypochlorous acid has the formula HOCl. In that central oxygen around that one is hydrogen, another is what Cl. Second structure you can see it is of chlorous acid HOClO or HClO2. Structure is HOCl double bond O. Then chloric acid HClO3. In that HOCl double bond O two times. Then perchloric acid HClO4 HOCl double bond O three times. So in this way we learn the structures of the oxacids of the chlorine. Later on we'll proceed for the topics of the elements group 16 elements. Oxygen and compounds of the oxygen, that is dioxygen. Ozone, compounds of oxygen. Then compounds of sulfur are sulfur dioxide and sulfuric acid. So these are the oxygen and compounds of the oxygen of the group 16 element. Then oxygen and compounds of the oxygen. First of all, dioxygen. Structure of dioxygen, that you can see, that we can discuss. In that, two oxygen atoms will each share two electrons to form two covalent bond, and that's why they can make the dioxygen molecule O2. So between this, you observe that on one oxygen atom there are two lone pair. This first lone pair, this second lone pair. Similarly, on second oxygen atom also there are two lone pair. They can be shared together. They can make the double bond. There are no loss. There are no ions present, as well as no plus or minus charges in the oxygen gas, because the electrons are shared perfectly to each other, and that's why these are not transferred from one atom to another atom. That's why in this we'll observe such type of stable double bonds between the oxygen, and there is no formation of the ions also. Then preparation of dioxygen. Laboratory method we'll see. By heating oxygen containing salts like chlorates, nitrates, and permanganates. So this salt, whenever two molecules of potassium chloride, KClO3 solid, heated in presence of MnO2 as a catalyst, it gives 2 KCl, means potassium chloride, in the solid state, and 3 oxygen gas will form. So how we can perform this reaction? In this diagram you can see, this diagram indicates that here first is the you see the setup, you see the assembly. In that, one stand is over there, and above the burner one tube is there. In that tube we can take the raw material like KClO3, and by addition of catalyst in that tube, so here reaction can be started by heating, and by heating we can observe that there is formation of the KCl and 3O2. So KCl remain in the tube, but O2 comes out by gas passing tube. That can be cover up the area which is inverted, kept cylinder is there. In that already water, and when our oxygen going to enter in that tube, that time that much area can be occupied by this one. And here you observe that this much area can be occupied by the liberated oxygen through this reaction. So here in this way we can form the oxygen, and same phenomenon will observe in case of the oxygen cylinder, which are useful in the hospitals for giving the patients. Now, by thermal decomposition of the oxides of metal, in that 2 Ag2O silver oxide solid, by heating we'll get 4 silver solid plus O2 gas. Similarly, twice mercuric oxide solid, by heating we'll get 2 silver liquid plus O2 gas. Then 2 molecules of lead dioxide solid, on heating it gives twice PbO solid plus O2 gas. In this, by decomposition of hydrogen peroxide in presence of the catalyst like finely divided metals as well as manganese dioxide MnO2. Then second method, they said, two molecules of hydrogen peroxide aqueous, by heating with in presence of MnO2 catalyst, it gives twice H2O liquid plus liberation of the oxygen gas. In this, the oxygen can be prepared by large scale by electrolysis of the water when hydrogen is liberated at cathode and oxygen at the anode. You see the reaction. Two molecules of water by electrolysis, it gives two hydrogen and O2 gas. You observe this diagram. In this diagram, we'll see one assembly is there in which it has the two vents top side, and whenever two electrodes are deep in that, so there is what you may say membrane, and here top side you see cathode negative, anode positive, and both can be joined with the help of supply of the battery or power supply. And whenever electricity start by joining the terminals, that time from that side there is particular liberation of the gases. So during this one, this water can be electrolyzed to give oxygen gas toward the anode as well as hydrogen gas toward the cathode. So here this oxygen, you may say, it can be liberated toward the anode, and this hydrogen that can be liberated toward the cathode. So in this way we can see this assembly, and here toward this one, whenever these 4 H plus ions accept 4 electron, so it gives 2 hydrogen at cathode. uh, then here gain of the electron, it shows reduction. And on the other hand, you see here two molecules of water, it gives out oxygen with 4 H plus, and 4 electrons are lost. So loss of electron is called oxidation. So at this side you will see here what oxidation, and here we'll see what reduction. In this way, we observe that diagram particularly, and later on, one more method we'll see, that is of industrial method. In case of industrial method, we'll say the oxygen is obtained from air by first removing carbon dioxide and water vapors. Then the remaining gases they can be liquefied subsequently, and it can be followed by the fractional distillation. It gives dinitrogen and dioxygen also. In the diagram you see here, in diagram you see one assembly is there. In that assembly, at the top side compressor, bottom side some tubes are there which can be joined to the refrigeration link, then expansion of the nozzle, and here this one is the liquid air which can be passes through toward the filter, and here air can be fed from this side. Later on through the filter it can be passes toward the distillation column, and here in distillation column liquid oxygen that we can get, as well as from that liberation of the nitrogen gas as well as argon gas. So in this way industrially we can prepare such type of substances. Then physical properties that we discuss in the next lecture. Thank you, students.